Good evening, everybody. We're going to get going in a couple of minutes. I just wanted to do a sound check because I had a few technical issues. So can you just give me a raise of a hand if you can hear me okay? Excellent. Thanks, Edwin. All right, so I will get going within a minute or two. If you're on YouTube live stream, I can't see the chat, but you're more than welcome to watch on there or just come into the webinar. I've given you the link to register. So we'll get going in a minute or two. So thanks very much. Terry, I can see you on there. Nathan told me you may be coming along this evening, so welcome. Okay then, everybody, let's get going. So welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar, Live Forex Market Review. Before we move along, if you can just read through the disclaimer. Now, if you have any questions as we're moving along, just put them into the question box. I do have the chat box open too, but questions to the question box is always helpful for me. All right, let's move along. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist here at ACY Securities. And I'm a full-time trader and been trading the market now for more than 15 years. Had the opportunity to mention clients for more than 10 years now. If you need to contact me, you can just get me at the email address on screen, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And if you want to follow me, my market analysis is at the acy.com website, the market news tab. The video analysis that I do is at the YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. And if you want to connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn, then my handles are just on screen there. I'll just leave that there for a few seconds if you want to jot anything down. All right, as well, if you'd like to get access to the ACY Securities Telegram channel where we're posting some analysis through the day based around what we're teaching in the webinars. We're showing some pairs, trends, support and resistance, key trading levels that we're watching. Then this is just an example, but contact Nathan Bray at acy.com. So it's nathan.bray@acy.com. And I'll give you his information and contact details in a moment. Coming up with the beginner webinar series. And we actually did trade orders and execution last week. I had a problem with my PowerPoint and it's recolored it back in. But coming up tomorrow, it's actually not listed here because it's a new webinar that's not part of the beginner webinar series. But tomorrow we're going to go through a new webinar on position trading using trading ranges. Coming up next week, we've got coming up support and market trend next Tuesday. I'll get to the webinar page in a second or two, or maybe at the end of the webinar, just to show you what's coming up over the next few sessions. But at the moment, we are going through the beginner webinar series. And next week, we're going to be going through market trend and trend lines. Okay. All right, so let me hop out of that. And what I want to do is just give you some links, or I should rather say some contact details for Nathan. Just going to put that in the chat for you. If you'd like to get access to the Telegram chat, contact him. His phone number and email address are there. And as well, I want to bring my charts up, which I'm going to do now. If you'd like to get access to my chart layouts, go to my 15-minute chart here. You'll see I've got pivot points and other indicators and things on there that I'm using and I'm teaching within the webinar series. If you'd like to get access to that, just contact Nathan and he'll organize that for you. There's a download, and if you struggle with setting up, he'll help you set it up as well. All right. So I actually just need to change my groups of charts. They'll just refresh. All right, so if you're using my chart layouts, what I'm using at the moment in the profile section here is the 12 pairs daylight saving, because New York's in daylight saving now. And London will be going to daylight saving time 2 this weekend coming, I believe. So then these charts will just work perfectly when you're looking at the session opening times. All right. All right, so the market's been very volatile. And normally I'm looking at trading levels that I'd like to trade from and to, but some of the levels have been broken. Some of the pairs are really trending very highly strongly. So I'm going to start with the dollar index just to have a look at what it may or may not be telling us. This is the monthly chart, which is in an uptrend. And this line here is a monthly, sorry, let's go back to the monthly a moment. This level here, it's a level of resistance on the monthly chart at 98.12 that's been broken. And the next level that we're maybe heading towards would be the 154 level from this monthly resistance top here, if we're going to be continually moving up. So the monthly trend is up. We're holding above that monthly resistance level. And the weekly trend here is clearly up. Now, it has moved up, and not looking at this week at the moment, but the last 2 weeks have been a bit negative. So we are just managing to hold above that monthly resistance level. So it's acting as some form of support, but there is a chance that, if I was to draw a fib across here, this could be wanting to have its retracement before the next move up. Okay, so it's worth just monitoring the dollar index. If it moves below 98.12, we're going to see pairs to the US dollar moving up. We've already been seeing a little bit of a movement up, especially on the pound dollar, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, the euro dollar, which is kind of 50% of the index price, is a little bit consolidatory. So that's probably just the thing that's holding the dollar index up at the moment. All right, and if we move to the daily, what you can see here, it's a little bit choppy here at the moment, ever so slightly in a downtrend. All right, so we might be going back to the weekly and put that fib back in. We might be over the next week or two, back to my daily, just seeing a movement down maybe to the 62% level. And that would, of course, create weakness for the US dollar and strength for the pairs to the US dollar. Okay, so just watch that. I also want to look at the S&P 500. It's been having a rally. This is the weekly chart. This is a monthly low area here that we've broken below, came back above, and we're heading up towards weekly resistance. And I've got a fib drawn across the range. So I've got a bit of a confluence area of weekly resistance, 45.29, and 62% fib at 45.44. Let's drop that down to the day so you can have a cleaner look. More room on the chart to look at. So there's just an area there where, you know, if price gets into that area and holds and turns around, then that moving down would be potentially negative for the currency market. So this upward move at the moment is just giving a bit of a positive spin to some of the pairs. So just bear in mind the positioning of the dollar index and the S&P 500. This might be coming into a topping area for maybe the next leg down. Time will tell. All right, now pairs to the yen are very difficult to trade at the moment. I'm going to go through them just to show some levels where we're at and what I might be looking for, but I might have to wait a few days or even a week or two to get to a level that I'm interested in. So before I get to those pairs, I might just do some of the easier pairs to look at. The Aussie dollar. This is my daily chart. And I'm going to take a few lines off. These can go back on in a moment. So I'll look at the monthly chart just to show you that even though we're moving up, the monthly trend is down. Now, a lot of charts have been down on the monthly for a number of pairs, and they've changed trend through the course of this week. But this pair hasn't yet broken above its monthly lower top. So this is lower tops and bottoms on the monthly here. So are we going to put in another lower top, or are we going to move through monthly resistance? We'll have to see. At the moment, though, trend is down on the monthly. It's worth bearing that in mind. On the weekly, it is up. We had quite a positive week last week, moving into another high week this week. Just going to put some of my lines back in. So we're heading into this weekly resistance level. We kind of touched it, 74.78, and we haven't wanted to go above that level today. Now, is that where the market is going to stop at? I know the weekly trend's up here, but the monthly trend is down. So, if the monthly trend is going to hold its place, the weekly move up has to stop somewhere. And that's a logical level. All right, to the daily. Just going to put my other levels back in. That's the daily level of support. That's the weekly level of support. So weekly level of support there at 73.14. Daily level of support 73.67. And the most recent level of daily resistance broken, 74.41. So that could act as support. So at the moment, hopefully you can see we're trading into weekly resistance. That could hold the market. Previously, it was a weekly top, became a daily support level. That then becomes resistance, and we're traded right into that level. So at the moment, daily and weekly trends are up, and so an intraday bias would maybe to trade up. I was looking at a level on the day chart. Maybe price could move down to daily support now at 74.41 with the central pivot. We haven't wanted to get down to that level, so the buyers are coming in ahead of there, but that would offer potential good, strong support for a turnaround. Back up maybe to retest weekly resistance. There's about, if you could get a very tight entry down here, then I'll be trading this upwards to hopefully break through 74.78, because there's only around about 37 pips between the whole area. So, if you could risk 15 pips, you might be able to target the best part of 30 pips to the top of the range. But other than that, you probably have to look for price to ideally trade through weekly resistance. So if you can get a tight entry down here and a turnaround, that might be a good level to trade out from. At the moment, though, you can see it's not getting there, and it's rather consolidatory in today's trading. It's had an attempt twice, late yesterday, early today, to try to test 74.78, and it can't. So maybe we might be topping out here. Time will tell. So you can watch that level for strong support. I'm going to move now to the euro dollar. So I'll cover the dollar pairs first, and we'll get to the yen pairs a bit later. So to the day chart, and the levels I've got drawn in, I've got monthly and weekly levels drawn in here. Might go to the weekly chart. Weekly trend is down, but last week we had a positive week. And is that the start of maybe having 1 or 2 weeks up? One positive week. Market doesn't usually just have one positive week. You can have 2 weeks. So time will tell. But we've come down to this level of monthly support, 108.79, trading through it a bit, and then it's held. We've got a daily support level starting to form here at 108.06, and I got a longer term monthly level down here. If things really get negative once more on the euro dollar, looking to target 106.35 down here. In the short term, weekly resistance is here, that weekly low, 111.21, and I've got some further levels up here, 111.86 and 112.21. To the daily, and I've got another line drawn in here for daily resistance at this old support level I'm using, 111.06. There's a couple of little highs there as well, but 111.06 and 111.21 have been good levels to hold the market on 2 rallies at the moment on this pair. First move back up, held to fall down. Second move back up, held, and it's just getting a little bit awkward where it is. It's sitting right in the middle of the range. Now, if you're looking at higher tops and bottoms, lower tops and bottoms here on the daily, we do have a higher bottom and a higher top. Got a message coming in. Slav is saying, is there a way to see the volume? I don't believe so, not in the Forex market, because it doesn't show you the size of the orders on the bid and the ask. All right, sorry about that. All right, so as I was saying, day trend here, even though the weekly's down, it's just showing a bit of positivity, a higher bottom and a higher top. That higher top might get negated at the resistance level, but when I'm bringing it down to a 4-hour chart, what I am seeing, that upward move of last week, we've kind of held at the 79% retracement area, 62% area. Is it wanting to move back up to retest resistance? All right, so I don't like the fact it's in the middle of range. So if I was engaging on this pair, the levels I'd like to be looking at, if it can come back up to the 111.06 to 21 level, look for failure there. With this little bit of a more consolidatory look about it at the moment, if it moved down to 108.79 and we've got day support there at the 10900 level, moving down to 10900, that could hold as support to move back up. So we might see a period of consolidation here. And it's just moving between those two levels, and hopefully you can see that price is in the middle there. So it's not the best place to be if you want to execute a trade in the middle of a range. So try to look to trade down from resistance or up from support. So approximate level is 10900 support and 11100 resistance. All right, I'm watching those two areas as a trader. Pound dollar. Let's have a look at the weekly chart. I'll just take a few of these lines off so we can see price. All right, those lines in at the moment are my weekly levels. Edwin, you're asking me, do I draw my fib on the 4-hour time frame? Well, the one I just drew on the euro dollar I got from the daily range. I was using that range just there. I know I may have drawn it on the 4-hour chart, but the range I was using was that daily range. I will draw it on the 4-hour chart as well if I think it's relevant, but the one that I drew just before, even though I had the 4-hour chart up, I was drawing across that daily range there. All right, just to clarify that for you. I got some more questions coming in, so I'm just going to pause. Slav, I've already covered the Aussie dollar. Yeah, I said the monthly chart is in a downtrend, and yes, the day chart trend at the moment is potentially it's still up. So if I just go back there for 30 seconds, the day chart trend is up, but the monthly trend is down. So the monthly move down was from that high to that low, and this is a retracement on the monthly chart. So yes, the day chart trend is up. Theoretically, if the monthly trend is going to hold true and put in a lower top, this daily chart trend here that we're seeing at the moment needs to finish. If the day chart trend continues and breaks through this high up here, the monthly trend will change. So for the monthly trend to remain, that daily trend that we are seeing at the moment needs to give up. All right. So it is going counter to what we're seeing on the monthly, but sometimes that's what we have. So when the monthly chart is rallying, having 1 or 2 months up, the day chart trend will be up when that rally is occurring. All right, so hopefully that clarifies it for you. All right, I'm going to move back to the pound dollar. I just want to double check the other chats. All right. So on the weekly, we're in a downtrend having 2 positive weeks here. 1 week up, but 2 positive weeks. And if I was watching for a level for this to move back up to finish this corrective move, I'd be looking at weekly resistance at 133.57 at the moment. All right. And I'd be drawing in a fib to monitor the retracement across that range, like so. I'm going to take that off. I'll put it back on later. To the daily, just putting in my daily levels of resistance. Just pausing a moment. I just want to go back to my weekly because I got interrupted. I didn't talk about my weekly levels. In a long-term viewpoint of this further moving down, I've got weekly support down here at 128.54. That's a long-term target of mine. At the moment, we have been moving through this weekly level of support, 131.34, and this monthly level of support. But obviously, we've moved below them and we're moving back above them at the moment. So Obviously, we've moved below, but they're starting to hold a support in the short term once more. So be aware of where they are if price wants to move back down, because they could still hold as some form of support. And up here, I'm looking at 133.57 weekly resistance. On the daily, I've got a couple of other levels on the chart. At the moment, price is trading between this daily level of support now at 132.10, and it's been trading up and testing this what was a very strong level of support that got broken at 132.73. So we might see some price movement just between those two levels over the course of the next couple of days. Long term on this retracement, those. Long term, in terms of the move up and the retracement, I'm watching this overall range. I'm just pausing because I saw something come in the chat. Luther May, you're saying, please, you're saying to me, please clear my confusion. And that's all you've told me at the moment. So if you want to give me some more information, unless you're typing a response to that, I'll just wait for a response. I'll just carry on. So at the moment, we've got a day uptrend, and this is just a retracement of the weekly trend. So levels that I would be really watching for a reversal of this retracement would be this weekly level of resistance at 133.57, and a little higher up, maybe the 62% level, 133.97. So that area, for an end of this weekly correction, I'd be watching this area here, okay? Now, at the moment, in terms of trading, let's just move it down to a 4-hour chart. What we're going to see on the 4-hour chart is we've had a bit of a sideways consolidation, and then it's broken above into the uptrend on the daily. And the top of that consolidation area is probably going to act as support. We're a little bit short of it today, and looks like it's already kind of getting support for a move back up intraday. So I'm just going to get rid of that box. I don't really need it on my lower time frames. So on the 15-minute chart, what we're seeing is we're pulling back to the pivot and getting some form of support there. So that might be the intraday low for the day. It may come down a little bit deeper to test that daily level of support. But that area there would be an area that I would be watching for price to start to hold and reverse. We can see two candles are reversing from it. So, engaging from that level, if it does hold as support, we're getting a bit of a trend line break. Don't have a MACD cross yet, but we are getting some support there. Depending on your own philosophy of this pair, this might be an area where you want to trade up from. Being mindful of 132.73. So if you were engaging on a move up there, make sure you got your risk out by the time you get to 132.73, because that's obvious daily resistance at the moment. All right, I got some more information coming in. All right, so my question I've got coming in, is it possible that price is on a support level on a monthly time frame, but it appears to be at a resistance level, say, on a daily time frame or a 4-hour time frame? I don't believe so now. But you would have to give me an example. So if you can give me an example of it, leave for me. Feel free to email me with a chart. I'll have a look at it. But I don't believe so. Really, on any time frame, you're either at support or resistance. You can't be at support and resistance all at the same time, in my mind. But I could be proved wrong. So if you can send me a chart of what you think you're looking at, then I'm happy to have a look at it for you. All right, but I don't believe you can be at support and resistance all at the same time. You're either at resistance or you're at support. Okay. Edwin, you're asking me, how do I see government bailing and Fed Powell news later on? Well, I don't really read too much into that. I just wait for the news to come out and then see what the news does to price. Okay. I'm not trying to dodge your question. In terms of, let's just go to the news. See what's coming out today. Here we go. So, all right, so you're referring to the Bank of Ghana Bay speaking at 10, and obviously the Fed chair speaking. Well, it depends what they're speaking about. I haven't actually looked at those items in great detail because I'm not trading the pound today. But I guess you'd have to go into those folders and see exactly what they're talking about. It's very difficult to determine what they're going to talk about and say. So then it's very difficult to try and guess what effect it will have on the pair. You really just have to stand aside, wait till whatever they say comes out, and then how does that affect the pair after that? Okay, that's how I always look at things. All right, Edwin. Well, if you may, okay, so you got confused about your chart. Well, I'm happy to look at a chart that you're looking at if you want to send me a screenshot, okay? All right, let's get back to the charts. All right, so we've identified a possible level of support here for the pound dollar, where the market might move up from today. I am expecting a further move up over maybe in the next few days as we have that weekly correction move, okay? But be mindful of not trading headlong into daily resistance, and that's at 132.73. All right, now I'll get into the yen pairs now that I normally follow and look through. In fact, New Zealand dollar, I haven't covered that one yet, so I'll cover all my pairs to the dollar, which are a little bit more user-friendly at the moment. Even some of those aren't too friendly, but monthly chart here, this is like the Aussie dollar. And in fact, it's looking a little bit better than the Aussie dollar because it's holding its monthly trend a little bit more to form. Is that it's like got lower tops and bottoms, MACD's crossed down. Yes, we're having 2 positive months. Doesn't change the monthly trend though at this stage. Of course, what we don't know is this going to have a further 3 months up and take out that top? We're never going to know that. So we just have to use our technical analysis tools and have a framework that we're working to. And hopefully that holds true. Now, what I can see is I've got a monthly level of old support here, 69.43. That could be resistance for the market. All right, I've got another level drawn in just there at the moment. That's not relevant to the monthly. So we're coming up to monthly resistance. If I draw a fib across here, what you'll see is we're at the 62 level as well. So we're at a very logical level where the market could want to put in its monthly lower top. To the weekly, you see that fib a lot more clearer. The weekly trend is actually up. So the weekly trend's up because we're rallying up 2 months. And we're going to see the same thing on the day chart. The day trend is up because we're rallying up 2 months. But the monthly trend is down. So be aware of that. Just be aware of where we're at. We're at monthly resistance in the 62% fib. All right, to the day chart. I just readjust my fib a little. And it's been difficult trading this pair. It's been giving a bit of false signal to sell. Yesterday, in through this area, it was potentially showing maybe a double top. Just underneath that resistance level. Put in a rejection candle, did have a day down earlier in the day, but then boom, up she went. So obviously that's frustrating when you're trying to use your tools to look at trading in one direction or the other. So if you try to trade that double top, obviously you were wrong, and that's just trading. So at the moment, what I can see on the day chart is that we are in an uptrend here. We are at a very logical level where the market could want to hold at, but we need some proof. And proof for me at the moment, with the market being so volatile, I think what I need to see here is at a logical level for the market to top at, but I need to see a lower top form. Okay. Like what it did up here. See, it came down and kind of put in an equal top to a fractional lower top and then broke the low here to put in a lower bottom. And price action is truly proving on the day chart that the trend is turning down from the level that you're watching. So we don't have that here at the moment. So it's a level I'm watching. You've got your 62 fib at 69.55. 69.43 is your monthly resistance area. Is that where price is going to turn around now? As we move down the time frames, the 4-hour trend is up. Now there is a possibility, because we are above 69.43 and we can see that the price is dealing on top of that today. that level of monthly resistance could, as we're slightly above it, be acting as some form of support. So if we do start to move above 69.43 and above the 62% level, and the 4-hour chart is holding true to an uptrend, then there might just be a question of looking for a continuation pattern on the 4-hour chart to trade. So you would see maybe this is a minor pullback, but if we do move up and off here now, continue a 4-hour uptrend, then look for a pullback. All right, draw your fib across that range and monitor the 62.79% pullback for price to hold at, and then continue its upward trend at the moment that we're seeing on the day chart. So obviously that's not forming at the moment. I'm more on the idea that this might be in the area where we're going to have a topping out process. It's just spiked up yesterday because of all the calamity that we saw on the yen crosses. So it's just got excited a little bit, because before then it was wanting to maybe start to put in a double top on the daily. So not sure whether this is a false move yet, but if we do start to hold above these two levels of the 62% fib and the monthly resistance, then we could well be heading up towards the 79% level. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything to do there at the moment, but I'm actually monitoring that to move back down in line with the monthly trends. Time will tell. All right, let's get into these yen crosses now. If you're fortunate to be in a yen cross to the long side, good on you. If you're not, it's a very difficult life at the moment. If you are, we go to the monthly chart. Might just take off a level or two. Going to take all these levels off, except for the one just there. To your monthly chart. So we've actually broken out above this resistance area. We had the last 2 months were very quiet and range bound, and suddenly the market's just gone gangbusters, which we don't normally see to this extent. So we are in a very extreme market at the moment. A very long candle up on the monthly. What I'm anticipating is that these levels of monthly resistance, 123.747, and this very major high at 125.854. These could be, if you manage to get into a bought position on this pair, those levels will be great, obviously, to look for long-term profit targets. Nothing goes up forever, but at the moment it is moving up quite parabolically, so it could achieve those levels, but sooner or later it's going to stop at a key area of resistance. It's just a question of which one. Usually when price comes up to a level like this one, it will hold and pause and probably have some form of pullback. When we go to the day chart here, what you'll see is it's had kind of a half a day pause, maybe 2 days of trading there. We kind of held and then we've moved through, and what you'll see is over maybe 12 or 13 days now, we haven't had a day down. And it's because, normally you're looking for days down, a pullback within a trend so that you can get on board. This pair is just not pulling back. So once it's up 13 days in a row, I can't in my head entertain the idea that I'm going to buy something that's had 13 days up, because logically it's going to have some days down very shortly. When though, when we have a few days down. So the levels that got drawn in, the higher ones, back to the monthly, would be great targets for profit if you're still in a long position and it just keeps having day after day after day up. Sooner or later it's going to meet one of those levels. Logically though, it should have some form of correction over the next week or two, and this broken level of monthly resistance, I just want to double check that level. That's that high there. So I'm not giving you any wrong information. So that monthly top we've moved through 118.65. Logically, if we pull back 2 or 3 days or a week, that should be where you're looking for support to come in. And then if it turns around from there, yes, moving up and targeting those monthly levels that I've just shown you. So at the moment, if you're not in, it's very difficult to do anything because it's just had so many days up. And that's the same story for the other yen pairs. Let's have a look at them. Aussie Yen. We were rather range bound in this area for many months. And then we've broken above 86.24 monthly resistance. And we're challenging 90.24 monthly resistance and one fractionally above at 90.71 and a half. Not quite sure if you've got to the second one. Been up to 90.65, so handful of pips short. All right. We're going to see the weekly trend clearly up. No argument where the trend is on any of these time frames in the day chart. This has had, since it broke above the monthly resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight days up. Usually in a trend, we get like 2 or 3 days up, 2 days back. So it's way overextended. I'm not prepared to be buying it so many days up. And we are at some form of resistance at the moment. Are these levels going to hold? If you're in a long position on this pair at the moment, where it is would be a great area to obviously take profits. Because usually when we get up to a monthly level of resistance, and this is that was a final top there before that long move down, usually the market will start to hold there and want to have a pullback. Now, in this market at the moment, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just keep going. Because on some of the other pairs, like the dollar yen, it's just been going. So time will tell. So just be aware of where the market is, its position. It is at major resistance right now. All right. I'm not even sure at the moment I want to even entertain any short-term reversal because it's been so strong. So in a perfect world, this retracing back down and 86.24 becoming a good level of support base to move back up off would be ideal. But I don't know whether the market can get back down there. It's 400, it's the best part of 400 pips away. So we might just have 1 or 2 days down, then we form a support base, and then from that base, then we might be trading back up to challenge these levels. So at the moment, I'm just on the sidelines, wanting some form of pullback. Where it pulls back, holds, gathers itself, price action gets back to some kind of normality, and then it can look for an opportunity to trade maybe back up to the upside in line with the trend that's been unfolding. So it's going to be the same story in the euro yen to a degree. Although the euro yen is fractionally different, I'm going to take some of these levels off, which you don't really need. So the monthly charts, I need to take a few more levels off. All right, still looks a bit busy, but I might take these bottom 2 off. I've got 3 lines up here because I've got 3 levels of monthly resistance that we're trading in. There's a monthly top over here, 133.12. Then there's a high here at 133.14 and 134.12. So I'll move it to the weekly chart. So look at the monthly candle. We were actually negative downtrend, negative candle, I don't know, 13 trading days ago. Everything was negative on this pair. And then we've had like 3 weeks solid up to this monthly resistance area. Now, this pair hasn't been able to move through its monthly resistance levels. It's testing them. Maybe this pair will hold here. But it wouldn't take much if we still get some more positive days on the dollar yen. Wouldn't take much to see this move through these levels. So I'm not yet that excited that this area is holding, but make sure you know what these levels are. The market is just today, right now, holding to the 133.14 month resistance level where my mouse is. All right, that's the day chart. So really the levels that you need to understand are these three here. Over the next, I would say, week, I'm just going to be watching to see what price does in this area. Does price actually get back to some form of normality, where then we can maybe come to a conclusion that yes, this resistance area is holding, maybe for a move back down the range. What might happen? We might get a short-term move, but this is in an uptrend. There's daily resistance. That was 131.90. That should be looking at support now, 131.90. All right, 131.90.02 is the exact number. So we may well reject this area in the short term, but it doesn't change the trend. If I'm going to be looking after such a rocket move up, 12 straight days, 13 days, something like that, I'm going to need a clear sign that that movement that we're seeing has ended, rather than looking for a short here that only comes back to day support and then blows straight back through. So the trend is up. Slav, you've got your hand up. Have you got a question you want to ask me, or you just got your hand up? Just type something in if you've got something to say. So at the moment, if you are daring enough to sell at this level, be aware of where day support is. It's at 131.90. I'd be more inclined at the moment to look at this pair as maybe the trend is going to continue up, especially, you know, look at what the other correlated pairs to the yen are doing. If they're still moving up through new monthly resistance levels, then I anticipate this might just move back to 131.90. If that starts to hold, that could be the base of support now for a move through these areas of monthly resistance. All right. I'm not getting too excited about any downward movement at the moment. If this was to move through that level and then clearly prove that that becomes resistance and starts to put in a lower top on the day chart, then I would start to think, okay, we failed up here and we're moving back down. Our first area would be monthly support down here. Monthly support is there at 127.37.8. So these yen crosses at the moment, highly volatile, trying to trade to the short side. I don't think it's recommended until you can see a clear price action proof that that's what's going on. All right. So those are the levels I'm watching. I'm just wanting the market to tell me which way to go. At the moment, the trend is still up, watching 131.90 to become support. Slav, I think you just typed something in. So you're asking me, is there a particular reason why the yen's dropping? Well, I think it's because of the war ultimately, and to do with oil, because Russia's a big exporter of oil. We've got the war on, and the markets has decided, obviously, that pairs to the yen need to strengthen. All right. I'm not trying to look too much into the fundamentals, other than the fact that if this uptrend that we're seeing at the moment continues, I think we've had a major change of the trend versus the Japanese yen. And now you're asking me, wouldn't we expect to see the euro to drop even more than the yen in that case? Well, maybe, but the market's always right. Okay. When the euro was dropping heavily 2 weeks ago, the euro yen was following suit down here. But then, even whilst the euro has now been kind of in a bit of a consolidation phase, holding pattern a little bit, this is just screamed straight up. So the market at the moment has decided that the yen needs to get weaker. All right. And unless I see a significant reason to buck that trend at the moment, I'm not going to buck it. So on any of these yen crosses, I need to see like a day chart lower top bottom kind of formation before I'm even going to entertain trying to move down. I'd rather wait for them to pull back a bit and see whether this new trend against the yen is going to sustain itself. Because if it is, we might have the next 6 months of the yen pairs moving up. So I don't want to miss that opportunity to get into that move, and I don't want to be losing money trying to fight it either. So at the moment, you know, if I'm writing something down on my desk, it's that the yen pairs are in an uptrend until they prove differently. So even 1 or 2 days of weakness really doesn't get me too excited. I mean, I do like, if it were in normal times and it wasn't so volatile and the other yen crosses weren't going nuts, I would probably be looking to trade down from here on the euro yen, but we're not in normal times right now, so I'm just going to be a little bit patient. All right, pound yen, another yen pair that went nuts yesterday. So what I've done on my just got a monthly chart. Just take a few of these lines off. All right. We were in like a holding sideways consolidation period for the best part of a year here on the pound yen. And what we had occurred yesterday was a breakout. Now, if you look left, the next most immediate target that could stop the move would be resistance at 163.06 from way back in time, 2008. So it's worth having that on your chart, because if you manage to get long this pair, you know, you can see this area here, there's a weekly area of resistance close to that level as well. That might be its first stopping point on the move up at 163.06 area, so approximately the 163 level. So if you did manage to get long, that would be a great obvious target in the distance to target. Now on the weekly chart, we were actually in a down. This is why it's been so difficult to trade recently. 2 weeks ago, we were in a downtrend, trading maybe down to the bottom of the range. And I was thinking, okay, as we're starting to move up here, we're looking for a lower top because the trend's down. But obviously, that's now been negated. So monthly trends up, the weekly trends up, the day trends up. Don't get confused. So what I'd like to see, if this yen trend against the yen is going to hold itself, then I'm just waiting for a pullback to this area of old monthly resistance. So that top is at 158.21. There's another top here. This is a weekly top, 158.06. So maybe a pullback to 158. If we hold there, would be ideal just to pull back to the monthly top. That would be even stronger at 158.21. But price could dip below that 20 pips. So 158.20, 158.100, price dips into their holds. That's probably going to start to act as a base of support for the next move up, assuming it pulls back, because again, this pair's had like 12 to 13 days up as well. I know that today's negative at the moment, but it doesn't mean it'll be negative. There's still another, 12 hours to go trading in the day, close to. So there we go. On any of these really strong pairs, on these yen crosses, okay, just, you know, if you're using my charts and the market does start to calm down and you're thinking like you want to look for a buying opportunity in a strong market, when I go through the pivot points webinar, I talk about the central pivot point, and in a strong market, price often will not pull back beyond the central pivot point. So the lower the day, it will come in at or even slightly above the central pivot point. So what we're seeing here on the pound yen is that the intraday low at the moment is the central pivot point. That might be as far as that pulls back today. So, you know, seeing a trend line break to the upside, getting support at a key intraday pivot point, that might be the trigger then for another day up. All right, so monitoring pullbacks intraday when we're dealing with a very strong pair is monitor your central pivot point. If we go to all these yen pairs, just to put that into focus for you, Aussie Yen cannot get back to the central pivot point, so it's very strong. Euro Yen, if I'm going to guess, I'm pretty sure it's close to the central pivot point because I was watching this pair earlier. Or it's actually moved through. So just showing a little bit of weakness at the moment. It's not wanting to hold on that 73.14 level, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next half an hour to an hour to see this back above 133.14. I'm not prepared to engage that to the downside. It's just too volatile at the moment and the trend's up. All right, but when you're looking at the yen pairs, I'm going to go to another one. New Zealand yen. Haven't covered this one yet. I just want to look at the 15-minute. It's very strong. Hasn't got back to the central pivot point. All right, so let's just do a top down on the New Zealand yen. The last one to go through on the yen crosses that I look at. This is the monthly look. High tops and bottoms. It's blown through one monthly top here at 82.49, and it is trading above 3 monthly tops here. The highest one being 83.90. All right, so next level, if we don't pull back below 83.90, next monthly level to challenge is 86.40. All right, get these key levels on, because at the moment, a lot of these yen pairs are just blowing through monthly tops. They're not even holding and then moving further through. Just pausing up, Terry asking me something. So Terry asking me on the monthly or weekly, how do I look at the trend? How many bars do you look at, or do you just look at look for higher highs? So I'll look at my support and resistance indicator here. Shows me my higher tops and bottoms. Higher bottom, higher top, higher bottom, higher top, higher bottom, higher top. So that's just what I'm using for trend. So I'm not counting how many candles. I'm purely looking at, is the market or the time frame that I'm looking at showing me higher tops and bottoms, lower tops and bottoms. So what I'm seeing here is we've got higher tops and bottoms on the monthly, and from a strength perspective as well, we're not holding it monthly tops when we're moving up, we're breaking through. Normally we would spend a little bit of time testing tops before we move through. At the moment, we're just slicing through them. All right, so if we're able to get into a bought position on this pair and you're still holding for a further move up, good level for profit taking would be at 86.40 monthly resistance. On the weekly, clear uptrend. We did have a lower bottom here, but now we've moved above 2 tops, so it's in a clear uptrend. And the daily, it's been high tops and bottoms through here, and then the last week or so, it's been kind of parabolic. Now, what I can see on today's candle, just by looking at it, is today's low has got support at monthly resistance, so it looks like we've moved through there in the short term. So for our chart, it's going to be in an uptrend. And as I was saying, if you're looking to intraday trade on the 15-minute chart, what I'm seeing today is it's wanting to get some form of support at the monthly top, 83.90. And it's not wanting to move down to the central pivot. And it's actually getting support at 8,400, the figure. So you can monitor this. I'm not suggesting buying it. It's, for me, it's had too many days up to buy. Because sooner or later, it's going to have some days down. So I don't want to get caught buying at the top. But of course, I could be saying that for the next week and it could keep moving up. But that's just my rules and my framework of how I trade. So this may well break this trend line and continue its move up. All right, it's holding above the level of monthly. See, it held here yesterday at monthly resistance. We went through support and resistance yesterday. So this is a monthly level of resistance. And it's proven to you on the 15-minute chart that it moved through. Where did it come back to find support? What was resistance becomes support? So broken resistance becomes support. Covered that yesterday. We've moved up. Today, the buyers are coming in slightly ahead of that support level. So if they're coming in ahead of the support level, they're keen to get in. They're keen to prop the market up. And I would, as a general trend look at this pair right now, intraday, I'd be expecting probably this is going to move further up. Is it something I want to actually be entertaining trading myself at the moment? No, because it's had too many days up. But you need to make your own personal trading decisions. And, be aware that the pair has had up from this little pullback. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6 day. If you look at normal price action, it may have 3 or 4 days, but it doesn't normally have so many days up before it pulls back. So, if I was giving you some good trading advice, is once the market's moved 4 or 5 days up, it normally has 1 or 2 days back. So once you're beyond that kind of philosophy, you're in the realms of, it should be pulling back. So do you want to be buying on a particular day where you're starting to anticipate that price will pull back? Probably not, but you need to make your own trading decisions in regard to that. Like the dollar yen, just to finish up, these yen pairs at the moment, like the dollar yen's been doing 12 or 13 days straight up here. I've never seen a pair have like 24 days up, but maybe that's going to show us that. Time will tell. So if you've been lucky or fortuitous with your trading decisions, and you've been able to position yourself on one of these yen crosses to the long side, excellent. At the moment, though, I think you're waiting for a healthy pullback for a base of support to form, and then look for the next opportunity to move up, because we could well have a very similar leg up once we have a pullback. All right, so just bear all that in mind. All right, before we conclude, if there's any final questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Slav, you're asking me if the yen dropped so much for so long after the 2011 tsunami. Well, here's 2011, and then into 2012. I don't really think it did. Back in 2011, we put a bottom in, and eventually you can see on the monthly chart here, we put in a higher bottom, and then we started to move up. Last big move up like we had candle wise, there was a big candle here. So just to prove the point, see, that's a big candle there, but let's just measure that before we go, just so we can all hopefully get the point I'm trying to make, that nothing goes up forever before it has some form of pullback. So that candle that we're having at the moment is fractionally taller than this one here, okay? And we had 1, 2, 3, 4 months up. But what you'll notice in the next month is that we pulled back within that candle before putting in a fresh high and a further move up, all right? So what I would hope to see is a similar event over the next month, is that price action will start to want to pull back a bit within inside the range of the current month that's forming. So we might, if we might finish at the top of the month, but hopefully the next month we have some form of pullback inside that candle before moving further up again. And in tomorrow's webinar, I'm going to go to the webinar page now. I'm actually going to take you through that concept in a webinar tomorrow. So if I go to my webinar page, I've got a new webinar I'm doing tomorrow. Position trading using the monthly and weekly trading ranges. So as I just kind of highlighting there, the fact that back in time, the next month, the candle pulled back inside the previous month for quite a while before moving further up. I'm going to be looking at that tomorrow in a webinar and showing you how you can start to ascertain where those pullbacks may complete within that pullback for a positional trade approach. So in this very strong trending market on the yen crosses, hopefully we will get a pullback maybe next month inside this month's range, and it might offer an opportunity for a long-term trade. So that webinar is coming up tomorrow at 8 p.m. Sydney time. Just head over to the webinar page to register. So that's Thursday, 24th. And then next week, we've got a market trend. Next Tuesday, more Forex market analysis next Wednesday and drawing trend lines next Thursday. So that's what's coming up. All right. If you're on YouTube, I can't see the chat, but hopefully you got some value from the analysis tonight. If you want to be able to talk to me, just register for the webinar and join us in the room. All right, everybody, I'll just give you a couple of minutes for any final questions. Edwin, thank you very much. So any final questions before we conclude, just feel free to ask. As you know, whilst I'm waiting for a question or not to come in, it's worth saying, you know, when we're looking at the charts and we can see that the yen crosses have been screaming up, and if you're not in, you're going, I'm missing out. Sometimes you miss out, but there's 365 days in the trading year. There'll be countless more opportunities for the trading year. Just wait for the market to pull back a bit, settle down, and give you a less volatile entry. And Alif Man, just reading your question again. All right, so yeah, you're talking about your support and resistance once more. I don't believe, I think your question before, which I'm just going to go back to. So your previous question was, is it possible that prices on a support level, say on the monthly, but appears to be at resistance level on a daily time frame or 4-hour time frame, for example? I don't believe so. I think if you're clearly on a monthly level of support, price will be showing that it's at support on a daily 4-hour or 1-hour chart. I would have to see the chart to be proved wrong. So that's why I'm saying I'm quite happy for you to send me a chart, because whatever you're seeing, I mean, obviously whatever you're seeing when you've been drawing your support and resistance, I know what your question is, but I'm having a hard time in my head seeing it on a chart. So if you have a chart example, and if you've got some lines on the chart, if you want to color them in a color-coded fashion, so you're saying that one color is my monthly and these are the colors of my lower time frames, and then I can have a look exactly what you're looking at. I might be able to help you a little bit more. All right. And then Edwin, you've got a question. All right, so you asked me about fibs. I would say if you're a beginner trader at the moment and you're struggling with fibs, is just draw your fibs on your day chart trend. All right. Later on in the webinar series, Edwin, I know you're attending the webinar series, I'm going to go through Fibonacci, and I will be looking at drawing my fibs on my daily and 4-hour charts. But if you're struggling with it at the moment, sometimes it's difficult because you can, like if I look at the pound dollar, for example, and I drew a fib on this one before, and I drew it on the weekly chart because I'm using the major range. So I've got my, let me just get rid of these lines. So I've got my fib drawn across my major range here, which is a downtrend on the weekly. Is when I go to my daily, I actually have an uptrend on the daily, so I'd be drawing the fib the opposite way. So what you need to decide is, what is your main trend that you're following, and draw your fib across that range. So for example, if my weekly wasn't my main trend that I'm following on this pair, maybe it was the daily, then I'd be drawing it this way, looking for price action to pull back within the fib levels, 62.79, looking for a trend move that way back up. All right. So ask yourself, what time frame are you using for your main trend termination, and then draw your fib on that time frame. All right. Hopefully that helps you. All right, everybody. Thanks for your attendance this evening. If you've got the time, it'd be great if you can come and attend tomorrow's webinar, same time, same place. 8 p.m. Sydney time. Just register yourself in, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, everybody, thanks for attending. Stay safe. Have a great evening.